Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Fault Line. We're going to try something new as part of our season two lineup and do some things that we're affectionately referring to as Fault Line Shorts, where Kim and I, and thank you for being here, my partner in crime, Kim Scribner, sink our teeth into a topic that feels relevant and valuable for you, our listeners. But we do it on a shorter basis, not a full episode. And for the most part, these are going to be conversations between the two of us rather than bringing guests in for additional perspective. And if it all goes well, fingers crossed, what we do is queue up some things that are good for all of you out there and may spur additional conversation. So they could turn into themes, they could turn into full episodes, or just get your wheels turning on, oh yeah, that's actually helpful. Kim, anything you would want to add before we dig in on topic number one for the season?
Yeah, I think if folks are listening to this and they'd like to join us for a full conversation on it, it's something they've got expertise or strong opinions about, let us know that as well.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So, Kim, what's first on the list for us to take on?
So I think we've got an episode coming up around shifting from athlete to leader, and I thought maybe we could talk about the practice of practicing something and how it kind of helps us get stronger, find gaps that we may have in our own perceived expertise on things.
Yeah, I love that. I love that topic. And it is very relevant to that arc of transformation between being in a competitive athletic environment and then being inside an organization trying to compete or deliver value for customers. Um, I'll let you kick off kind of some perspective on this. I've got some thoughts, but I'd love to hear how you're approaching this and what brought it to the top of your mind.
Yeah, so what brought it to top of mind for me is it's been a couple of months I've been not consistently at the gym. Now I'm more consistently at the gym again and feeling those different muscles that maybe have been out of practice, so to speak, and just reminding myself the importance of consistency and practice and continually getting better and stronger physically and how that also applies to the organizations we work in. And how when we show up at work, oftentimes, especially as consultants, we're expected to bring expertise when we do bring expertise, but we're also learning and how kind of that practice doesn't make perfect, but makes better.
Yeah, and the feedback loop between trying things, experimenting, and then scaling and executing at that scale is really analogous for me in a lot of ways to the athletic, you know, sort of behaviors and cadence and rhythms. It's interesting that you talked about it. And first of all, congratulations on getting back out in the gym for Suns Out, Guns Out season.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I reflect on this, I've got a friend who's a college soccer coach, and he, constantly says to his team, practice as we play, play as we practice. And the implication is we're not going to be able to bring the best of us and the intensity we need to win competitively if we keep it in a lower gear while we're practicing. And for me, as we sort of ponder this idea in a more intellectual or corporate environment, I'm curious how it plays out, because there's so many people who feel overwhelmed from a time standpoint and that every minute of their day has to be focused on execution. Any thoughts or reactions to that?
I think there's overwhelm from a checking things off execution perspective. And also, oftentimes, as a ways of working consultant, I run into a trust factor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, the trust factor piece for me is when we start working with an organization in new ways of working, there does have to be an amount of trust as we go through, as an agilist would say, a shuhari curve, right? Where we're telling you what
Yes.
to do, we just want you to do it. Then you're learning how to do it on your own. Then you're learning why you're doing it, and so that's the practice curve, and it requires trust between the parties. So I think sometimes that interferes with us not practicing and feeling like we have to show up as perfect and done. And I think to the point that you made about, you know, focused on execution and not taking time to invest in learning. We see that sometimes with whether it's an organization not putting time available for training and development for individuals, also in investing in yourself, right? So whether that's whatever book you might be reading that's aligned to something, right? Those all fall into that practice and keeping your mindset open so that you can continue to grow. It does come down to that time factor. You do have to, take time outside of your 9 to 5, so to speak, in order to improve.
Yeah, and it's funny. Two thoughts that you spurred for me. The first relates to teams and sort of permission to sharpen the saw, to use the old Covey perspective. I would frequently talk to people on my teams and say, listen, let's think about a 5% commitment, right? Could we let you focus 95% of your day on all the things that you say you need to get done? 95% of your week, 95% of your month. But let's find 5%, the equivalent of a couple hours a week, or maybe a day a month, when you actually try to get better at all those other things you're doing. And, that may be the right or wrong ratio or proportion, right? Everybody makes their own choice there. But just reminding people that keeping ourselves sharp is actually value accretive, especially in an environment of rapid change.
Yeah, what I like about the making intentional time for it is it doesn't feel like we're breaking rules as employees because we're doing something different. But also what you can build into that, and what I've done in teams I've led in the past, is yes, you've got the day a month to go away and learn something new. The only condition on that is you have to bring it back and you have to teach it in some way to the rest of the team. And then that amplifies the learning, right? Because an entire team is learning something instead of just one individual. And I think those are some of the ways that organizations can make people feel good about learning.
I think there's another aspect to this as well, and this is a little bit of a pivot. Frequently, especially in today's lean organizations, there is not a lot of extra bandwidth built into the team for planning or strategizing, et cetera. And I'm again curious about your perspective. I've always found it to be a useful exercise, particularly not on day-to-day stuff like what's the copy on today's social post, not that type of thing. But when we're thinking about a big initiative, to do some scenario planning, to actually ask how might it go better than expected, how might it go even better than that, and also how might it fail miserably, and start to think through, okay, so then what would we do? What do we need to pay attention to? And the solution that practice provides for actual execution is to allow the team a little bit of soak time before investing in a big commitment of their key resources, their time, their energy, their money. And to me, I'm not sure that people think of scenario planning or gaming out certain options as practice, but for me, that is one of the closest analogs to competitive preparation in an athletic sense. I'm curious whether
Yeah.
that resonates or you want to modify that and make it better.
So often I will activate practice circles when I'm working with organizations.
Love it.
And so practice circles are intended to be just that. We practice our craft, whatever that is. I'm working with right now a group of what would be product owners. They're called project program managers at this specific organization. But we do a practice circle every other week. Sometimes that's a specific topic. I'm teaching them something and we're doing some exercises. But sometimes they're literally bringing this marketers. So they're bringing their strategy that they've created. And there's a group of about 8 of them. And they're sharing their strategies with each other with the intention of making it better through practice of going through it together. And I think it falls into the normal cadence and rhythm of activities. Everybody's learning from it. But it is similar to that scenario planning that you're talking about, right? Scenario planning might sometimes feel like it's disaster recovery planning or things like that, right? But it's the same. We're practicing doing the thing we need to do together.
Yeah, and what I appreciate about that whole perspective is, again, it brings up the analogs back to the athletic environment. So in whether it was basketball or football or soccer or, any other team sport, oftentimes a portion of the group would then be the scout team. They would play as if they were the competition. And that's also a way to pressure test and really get to, the sort of commitment and alignment on, yeah, this is the way forward, because we've now played it out. We've thought as our competition, and those players have tried to challenge us on where we might be weak. So that cycle for me is invaluable.
Yeah, I'm going to throw this in at the end as we're wrapping our little chat here today. So, we talk often about sports in business scenarios. It's just something that comes naturally. So, while I was not maybe the same type of athlete as you are, Gary, I was a competitive cheerleader for a long period of time. And so, practice sometimes meant we were just standing there with our arms out straight so that our coaches could like make sure we could make a tee. And sometimes it was just practicing smiling well. Sometimes they put Vaseline on our teeth because we wouldn't smile unless Vaseline was on our
Such a
teeth,
heinous
right?
practice, but effective.
Yes. So practice comes in all shapes and forms.
Yeah, love that. And for anybody who wants to debate, I can speak from observation, close observation. Competitive cheerleading is a brutal athletic activity.
Yes.
And I think we can wrap up there. Thanks for everybody listening to this first of our Fault Line Shorts. And as always, look for the Fault Line podcast wherever you get your podcasts.